Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made it for another exciting, interesting episode. You got a special guest. We got my friend Mike, a fellow ex-truck driver, and met many years ago down in Southern California. And
Bruce's truck stop.
Yeah. So anyway, Mike's living in Seattle now, so Mike's been able to be on the show a few times, and it's always interesting to get a perspective from Washington. Well, now it's even more so because as of
December 6th, this Thursday, marijuana is legal in Washington, and supposedly no matter what the feds do, they can't change any of this. And the nice thing about all this is that even when the Justice Department was kind of asked about, hey, what's up, what do you guys think now, they said Congress is the one that schedules this stuff. So if you want to change things, talk to Congress instead of their usual rhetoric that is Schedule 1, shut up, go home. So that was welcome. And now editorial boards of the major newspapers in this country are calling for a reform of the laws. You've got 4 states in New England that are going to pass through the legislative process legalization as well. Colorado takes place in, what, 1st of January, I believe. So it's maybe this house of cards. You know, I don't want to get too excited here. I've been disappointed too many times in the past, but maybe this is finally what we've been waiting for.
oh yeah, this is big. I tell people the walls are coming down. They're everywhere.
I hope so.
Washington, I think, what is it, like a dozen counties in Washington have announced that they've dropped
Yes.
pending cannabis
King
cases.
County, Pierce, all the big, you know, the Tacoma, Olympia areas, Seattle, they've stopped all pending drug cases. There's only been one lone nut somewhere that says he's not convinced, you know, so anyways.
Yeah, in fact, I had an article here. 2 of the largest American newspapers opine in favor of allowing states to legalize marijuana. By the way, I had to look that word up, opine.
Opine?
I never heard of that before.
It's a misspell.
No, it isn't.
Oh, is it?
No, I looked it up. It's opine, that's how it's pronounced, and it's to state as an opinion.
Oh,
So
like
I never
an
heard of it.
opinion.
But anyway, yeah, it says the New York Times New York Times and the Washington Post both are in favor of legalization.
And also the Oregonian.
Yes, yeah, that was a big one.
Even closer to home, they have called for the legislation to do something, to be on the cutting edge of this, not to languish and wait to 214, 216. Now's the time.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, and Washington, tell us a little about Washington, because I know you're a member of on the board of Seattle Hempfest.
Well, Seattle Hempfest,
so,
yes. But what's going to happen with 502 is it takes place, it becomes effective on December 6th. So the only thing is that you really can't buy any in Washington yet. You know, so if you don't have a medical card, not a whole lot is going to change. However, the police are going to have a new, I don't know how to explain it, but if marijuana is legal, but you can't buy it.
yeah, you can possess it, but you can't buy it. So
yeah, so you know, I don't want to get too many lawyers involved or give them a hint or anything, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think Seattle, for the most part, the voters 10 years ago said, hey, for the police, it's the lowest priority. And from personal experience, I've been in many parks around that city, other than Hempfest, where they allow, of course, people to have a little alcohol because it's the 4th of July, big fireworks show, so everybody gathers in the park, and the police are like, hey, as long as everybody's got good manners, fine. That's marijuana, fine. It's, you know, beer, they have no problem with it. So I've always really enjoyed that about King County, especially, but Seattle in particular, and the 4th precinct in particular, of being such level-headed, civic-minded people, you know, as police in uniform.
Well,
really
prior to this, even prior to the election, the medical market has gone wide open from what you've been telling me. They have open air markets?
Yes, they have a farmer's market. They have one in Tacoma and they have one in Seattle once a week, where you can go, and just like the one here in Lane County, the only difference is that If we had a table at a farmer's market, we would have large jars of Afgooey, Banana Kush, City Lights, or whatever. People come in, you just have to have your card. And the police have let this go on for almost 2 years now. Because at the end of the day, especially in a large metropolitan area, most people can't grow their own for various reasons. Either their living situation says that that's impossible, to other considerations. So you need to always have an access for this. And Seattle, going back really more than a decade, has allowed the access points to exist. But in the last, since 2008, they've exploded. I mean, there's on the internet you can find these places. You see menus. It's just like lollipops, soda pop, candy. I mean, it's incredible. Just in the last 2 or 3 years, what's happened in that city with what you can buy as a medical patient. And you also have now the benefit of testing. So you know exactly what, if you need to be that specific, depending on what your ailments are, you know exactly what the content of all these products are. And so it's evolved into what the direction it needs to go: safe access, good quality medical marijuana. But now the city's going to come in, or the state's going to come in there, and some of the projected numbers are astronomical what they're going to have to grow. And so the Liquor Board, which was put in by I think the 1993 Stevens Act, which created that during the Prohibition era to handle Washington's alcohol, now is going to take care of cannabis. And so there's no expertise on this board. There's no expertise that I'm aware of in the state of Washington that would have an idea what a sativa or indica or any variation in between, what's quality, what's compost, more or less. And so now they're going to have to step up. They've got a year to come up with a system where they can grow, regulate, tax, distribute marijuana.
That's interesting. It's like when the Oregon medical marijuana law came into effect. I thought to myself, I can't imagine the government administering a marijuana program, and yet they have to. Well, now that I look back on 10 plus years of the program, now I can see it very clearly. And they don't want to administrate it. They've shown that quite clearly over the years. They haven't really cared about the patient. They've just been running their program, their own thing. They even the former director put the first lady, gave her the job to run the program, and didn't give her the tools that she needed, and then they fired her because she wasn't getting the job done. And she was the best advocate we'd ever had in the program.
Right.
But anyway,
set her up to fail.
But anyway, the point is that it really shows that the government doesn't want to run the program, and but they had to. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens in Washington.
It's going to be interesting to see. They have a 5-member board. I believe it's elected by the governor, and we've got a new governor coming in this year, Jay Inslee, who is a former 1st District congressional representative there. And he's kind of a late Johnny-come-lately to this, so he's now, yeah, I'm for it, we'll help it. He didn't support it up to the election, but he's a close one. He's going to be the next governor, so it's going to be his job to formulate this board. And if you look at who advises the advisory board now, you have the Western Distillers Association and all these alcohol-related bodies that haven't functioned in 2 years. So now these guys really don't have much to do with growing cannabis or distributing cannabis. Maybe they do, but at least they haven't done that, publicly before. So they've got to, from the ground up, 1 year by I think it's November 2013, have something in place. So depending on what the Justice Department does in Washington D.C., I think it's
I'm anxious to see what the feds are going to do about Washington and Colorado.
They are staying out of it at this point. When they are asked about it, they've deflected, the answers toward Congress. And there have been bills before back in D.C. trying to get out of committee that address the scheduling problem, that address a lot of these problems that have been going on with medical for years. But for the last, Congress was held out of committee, and here we are.
Yeah, I saw a letter. It was signed by, I think it was 23 congressmen, asking, or written to the Attorney General and also the DEA, asking that they respect the state's sovereignty and wishes and all that. So anyway, things are, I mean, like I said, things are changing. The cat's out of the bag, the wall's coming down, however you want to call it, it's coming.
I think it's finally here.
Yeah.
I'm optimistically,
There'll be some more bumps in the road, but yeah.
Well, there's
like you
with
mentioned, there's gonna be some
502.
diehards.
Yeah, well, if you look at the difference between Washington and Colorado, some of the difference being, one, Washington sets a impairment level, as where Colorado's does not, and also you can't grow your own in Washington, but you can in Colorado. So there are some things that,
yeah, and it'd be interesting.
you know, I'm hoping can be addressed as we move forward on these things. But right now, the impairment level is my major concern, because for medical patients, especially on a lot of cancer patients, they will be over this limit waking up the next morning.
Right.
They're fine. They're not impaired, but the science, or really the politics, hasn't caught up with the fact that cannabis is not a water-soluble substance in your body. And it's also non-toxic, but any guy that's been to drug rehab knows that. But cannabis, you know, has a place to go in your body and doesn't, you know, leave quickly because it's a fat soluble. So they're using the same standard for alcohol with cannabis, and I think that's a bad model, and Colorado agrees. So.
Yeah, that was the biggest, I think, complaint about Washington's initiative was that
Yes.
it not only the fact that it set a level, but it set a level way too low, and none's ever been set before, and then it picked 900, like you said. Most of the patient would be guilty.
They know this science isn't accurate, you know, and so we're going to wait and see how they deal with this. You know, we have people, you know, that are worried about, well, you know.
They'll work it out in court. Lawyers will get fat pockets, and some poor schmuck will have to pay for it.
So, at some point, somebody's going to come up, and the law is going to say that you have to come to an emergency room with me, and we need to draw blood. And if you disagree on that option, well, you will lose your license. You know, so they've got you. But now the trouble is that they need to allow the science to supersede the politics and the polling that they use to pass this 502. It's a great first step. But there's, you know, every state operates their medical different, and now we're going to have states operating their legal different. And we need to make sure that, you know, states that are passing this, it benefits the people, you know, in the states, and not just making money for, you know, Uncle Sam.
I'm wondering if we'll have the cops in Washington calling the cops in Idaho, telling them there's a car coming their way. It smells pretty. Well, you know, 'cause that's happened in Idaho.
Yes, it has, and you can also look over in Europe, and those people from Belgium drive to Amsterdam, but Amsterdam decided here in the last month or so that it wasn't worth the effort to keep these people from having their cannabis, because it just gets it back into the hands of people that they don't want to flourish, and so they learned their own lesson.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I got it. Yeah, we got some more info on Amsterdam. So, well, thanks for coming in, and
my pleasure. Good to see you.
North, and have a safe trip, and get on the big road and put it in the wind, as I used to say.
Put hammer down, you know. Speed limit 70 when I get to Washington.
Okay, so we're out of here. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next time.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with NarcoMex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. NarcoMex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott NarcoMex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. NarcoMex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Well. Welcome back, and we've got Reverend Will here, and we want to talk about there's a big meeting in Portland. Activists are getting together all over the state and talk about what to do with the legislatures coming up. We know that the law enforcement's going to try to cripple the medical program, and in the meantime, while they're doing that, they're saying that they're trying to improve it, but in reality, they're trying to cripple it. But anyway, we've got to fight them off. Then we try to get things through the legislature that we need and want. So.
For me, in the first place, I'd like to know why we have not held our state to its commitment in the people of the state saying, get us our medicine. I would like somebody from OMMP or anywhere to come on this show and explain to me how the state is helping us as patients to get our medicine. Because personally, I don't see it. You know, all I do is right now, I had to go to my bank and borrow money to get my medicine for a year. It's $500 for me to get my medicine this year. And that's nothing special. I mean, it's not like I'm getting double doses or anything. It's just trying to get any medicine. And there is nowhere that we can go to hold our growers accountable for what they're doing.
I know, in fact, just for the show, I was just starting to tell you about it. I just got a phone call from a lady in Portland. Wanted to talk to Portland Normal. They're in Portland Normal, so she got a hold of me. But anyway, she has a grower that she's been dealing with a couple of years. She said he always gets really, really paranoid at harvest time. She helped him with cultivation, trimming, the whole operation. Nice. His harvest was 300 pounds. He has 8 patients. He harvested 300 pounds, and now he tells her that she can't have any, and he accused her of trying to steal from him, and so here she worked all this time in that garden, and now he won't give it to her. And that's the kind of heartbreaking stuff that you hear about, is that greed, you know.
Well, what people don't understand is you have that happening on one hand, and then you have the police doing things like coming in and taking over High Hopes. So you've got these people at High Hopes who all have high hopes that their medicine's going to be left alone until they can use it, and they come in right at the end knowing when harvest season is and stuff. They come bouncing in there if they find anything overweight or whatever. Boom. I mean, even though the man that you know him better than I, you know him, that he was credentialed in his process and had people who were coming and checking out what he was doing because it was set up so well.
He had 2 Oregon legislatures come down, and he took them on a tour through the place, and they were very impressed.
So why is it that the police listen to the federal government? And this is where I want the Attorney General stepping in here. Because understand, if the feds are coming in one year and saying, we need to go bust these people, the Attorney General, to me, my understanding is, since she interprets the law as well as enforces the law here within the state, would be to say, excuse me, this man has an excellent grow. It's already been validated. It's had legislators look at it. But she shouldn't have to go through all that. She should just be able to say, no, leave them alone. They're within their state limits. I do not understand where the power went after the Vietnam War, where we as a people were able to shut that down. Now we have a declared war in our own country, and we're allowing it to go on and on and on. It's just nuts. I showed and talked to a friend of mine who might have to get a medical card to help her because she's having back problems. She's a wonderful person. She works in a very highly functional job where she has life and death at her fingertips all the time. And if she doesn't get, if things don't go her way, then she's not going to be able to work anymore. She's going to have to be in a wheelchair. And that for me, she was looking at this, and when I was telling her how much I was having to pay a doctor for a signature, and the state for the possible right to be able to get medicine, they could always find something somewhere that they could bring up and say, oh, no, we don't want you to have it. And what am I going to do about it? I don't have the money to go out and get a lawyer and fight them. And it's the same thing we go through all the time. We need a compassionate lawyer out there to help us, because the way I put it out once before is I would like a caring lawyer to help get the heroes and the veterans of this drug war free. And understand, when we talk about PTSD, as a person who has helped a lot of people get their herb for medicinal reasons and spiritual reasons, I have to deal with PTSD all the time. I'm always having to deal with people on the street who want to rip me off, and the cops who, you know, could come knocking on my door and say whatever they want to, and people are going to believe them.
Yep.
So I don't know what it's going to take for us to get our rights, but when I hear of people like Brian Michaels, who I really appreciate for all the work he's done for us, but understand, if you're talking to the ACLU, I want to know why the discrimination is so prevalent in this country against a product that could be beneficial for the whole, especially you cannabis patients, families with cannabis patients. How are you going to feel if eventually this Rick Simpson oil that's out there or something else comes along through the marijuana field that helps cure cancer? We believe it already is. We have proof that it is. People are being saved from cancer and from people who are on dialysis for 25 years while they're watching people around them die all the time. What's the reason? The people have no energy. Why do they have no energy? They can't eat and they can't keep the food down. So what is something that the marijuana does? It helps you eat and it helps you keep food down. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Yeah, really. So there's more meetings that are coming up, and anybody that can't make these meetings, that really has something that they would like to get into the meeting, can contact me through the show, because I'll be going to most of these meetings, and I'll definitely put it out there. If somebody has a good idea or something, I'll put it out there as an advocate. But we need more people at these meetings. This meeting here was the first one in Eugene, and we had 17 people there.
We were both there.
Yeah, we were both there. And there were 17 people there. Now, I don't know how many were in the Portland meetings, but I'm sure it was at least double that. But anyway, so there's 2 meetings coming up. So you've divided this up into 2 categories, and of course, you can go to both. But the first one is the medical meeting. This is going to be the meeting on what we're doing through the legislature and the initiative process, and now the whole thing, what we're going to do. This is a meeting open to everybody that's interested, and this will be in Portland. It's going to be December 6th at 11 a.m. and it's going to be at the campaign headquarters of Measure 80, which is on Sandy Boulevard, 2712 Sandy Boulevard, and it's at 11 a.m. on this Thursday the 6th. And if you need that more information, you can send a note to me through my email address, and I can point you to that. The next meeting is on the 14th. The legalization meeting is on the 14th at 11 a.m., same location, 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. The legalization meeting will be discussing what they're going to try to do through the legislature. We do have 2 or 3 legislatures that are friendly to us and are
supportive of what we're doing.
Yeah, and so we'll be working with them and then see what we can do with them. And if that doesn't work, then we go to the initiative process. And they're talking about maybe 2012, ideally be 2016. But the problem with 2016 is that that's 4 more years of people going through hell, you know. And so it's bad enough to have to wait till 2014. So I don't know what yet, but anyway, we'll be discussing this.
Well, you know, one of the nice things about the meetings is that they have a focus group which is going to be doing a lot of the ground floor work as far as putting bills into Congress. Everyone is welcome to be at the meetings, and if you can't be at the meetings, as long as you follow Robert's Rules of Order, they're working on setting up a chat so that we can have people...
Conference call,
conference call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whether it's going to be through Skype or whatever, these are things that are being discussed now so that they can be set up. But just letting you know that they really want input, so they're working it so everybody can have input that's at the meeting. And then to further that along, you can also have input coming in through the computer.
Exactly. And Yeah, and yes, it's really hard to go to these meetings because this is the one Will and I went to Sunday was the 4th meeting. There's already been 3, one on the coast and 2 in Portland. I couldn't go. My car wasn't up to it. I didn't, and that's $50 of gas just to drive up there, and it takes a whole day. It shoots the whole day right in the head, you know. So it's not easy trying to make these out-of-town meetings, but it's so important to be there. So I'll be trying to making these, and if not personally, I will be in touch with them. So anyway, that's what's coming up.
And then isn't the marijuana group coming together the day before that, so that we can try and take the input from the advisory board?
Correct. Yes, the advisory board is meeting on the 5th, December 5th, which is tomorrow. Or no, wait a minute, this is Monday.
Friday.
Anyway, they're meeting on I believe it's the 5th in Portland, and then the medical meeting of the day after. So yes, that's the ACMM meeting, the advisory committee to the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. You mentioned PTSD. They're also working on putting a bill through the legislature to put it on through the legislature, through a bill. So.
Right. The thing is, we need all of you veterans out there to speak up. I know that one of the things veterans try to do is not utilize as much as they may need to as far as help goes. You know, we like to think that if we step back that there will be more money and stuff and more access for people who have worse problems. PTSD is one of the worst problems out there, because if you can't sleep, then you're going through all kinds of changes, the downhill road. And we really don't want that. So if marijuana can help in that process, please check it out. Do it through your process, do it through your doctor. Talk to them, let them know how it helps, and that way we can get better input back. Because right now, one of the biggest complaints we have is not being able to do research. You know, that tinctures and oils and other things that we can, edibles like they're doing in Colorado and Washington State right now, like Mike was talking about with all the edibles. I mean, understand, we feel that that's one of the best ways to go. So.
You bet. So we got to wrap this up. December 15th in Portland is the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards banquet. That's on, learn that on a search in the computer, December 15th. We're going to be out of here. Thanks for coming in, Will.